Welcome back to the Crypto Power Hour, of course, powered by Solum Global with your host, the founder of Solum Global, Kirk St. John's, crypto's most interesting man, and of course, Antonia Moss, coming in all the way from the UK, the Crypto Queen and the Crypto Bros, myself, Lance Miliaccio, and of course, George Balloutine. This is your ultimate deep dive into everything crypto, blockchain, and decentralized finance. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just stepping into the world of digital assets for the first time, we bring you expert insights, top interviews, exciting new projects, breaking news, and game-changing innovations shaping the future of digital assets. No hype on this show, no fluff, just real talk, real strategies, and real opportunities in the world of crypto. Because on this show, in crypto, we trust. Well, I'm happy to see the entire teams here. Antonio, I just want to say thank you very much. I know you're coming in all the way from the UK. And I know you've got some stuff going on with your family, but we really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule there to join us today. Of course, it wouldn't be the same without having you here.
Oh, well, thank you, Lance. I'm very happy that I could make it, and I'm here with you all.
Yeah, it's great. Kirk, what's going on, my brother? How are you, man?
It's
been a busy week.
Yeah, it's been a busy week. Had a good time. I actually went over to the beach yesterday, swam a little bit. For those of you that are not from South Florida, I feel sorry for you because it's gorgeous, about 78 degrees. The water was flat and clear, and it was just absolutely invigorating.
That wasn't during business hours, was it?
Well, you know, sometimes business requires you to take a moment and reflect.
So you have to go to the beach, eh?
Spoken like a true founder. Of course, the staff doesn't necessarily get that same luxury, but we appreciate it.
I know I wasn't at the beach yesterday.
I know I wasn't either. I've been running and gunning.
Listen,
George
I'm
and I
not
have
trying
been
to
at
tell him
5
myself.
a.m., dusk to
wanted to
dawn,
swim.
rise and grind, doing what we do every single day. I don't think there's any breaks in this business. But listen, that's fantastic. It means that things are good at Solum, and I appreciate you recharging because we need you for all hands on deck and in the right mode. George,
yes.
What's going on? Let's talk about the knee for just a second. Maybe for the audience out there that don't know, George had replacement surgery on half his knee. How's it going, man? I know they've been putting you through the grind in physical therapy. You've been talking about it a little bit. It's been pretty ugly.
I don't know. I was just thinking, maybe the salt water at the beach would do soothing for my knee, but I can't
Exactly.
go. You know what I mean? I don't get that pleasure.
Can we send the Solum Global private jet to pick George up so he can get a little saltwater rehab on that knee, Kirk?
I need to have. I'm gonna say this on the show. I need to have a conference with Sterling and Sebastian ASAP.
Exactly.
ASAP.
Yeah. Got to go to the heavy. You got to go to the top of the food chain. Always. That's how you get things done.
I'm just
All right,
worried
well, listen,
about George's carbon footprint. I don't want him to overdo it.
Yeah, well, you don't have to worry about that. Those people that are burning up Teslas, the liberals that seem to be so concerned with our environment are adding to the carbon footprint nonstop. So I don't know that a couple of jet trips is going to make a difference. Maybe we can get the politics in this country under control.
I do appreciate that, Kirk, but for some reason, like in my vocabulary, I don't know how to not slow down. That's a problem with myself.
Right.
I have to get there one of these days. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's not one of my skill sets either. And it feels like things are moving at such high speed that to take time off, you come back a couple of days later and it seems like the entire world's changed. There's enough going on in DC and especially in the crypto world. Things are moving so rapidly now. And maybe it's because we know we've got an administration that seems to be much more optimistic when it comes to crypto. Let's just start. Let's talk. How do you guys feel the environment here? And that's why we did this show. Let me back up here for just a second with the audience. The reason we have this show is that it doesn't matter whether you're a seasoned investor or a beginner. This is all about educating people and making them aware of lots of projects you might not be aware of, letting you know about the current news and what matters, the dynamics in government across the entire globe, because this is a global show. It's not only U.S. based. We cover projects from all over the planet. So let's talk about the environment for the audience. I feel like the tide has really changed. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm kind of feeling this positive energy on crypto where for years under Gensler and the SEC, I didn't feel that way. So, George, what do you think? Do you have the same thing? Because I feel it on social media. It feels like people are much more enthusiastic about crypto and digital assets.
Yeah, definitely. Because listen, it's moving into the I'm going to say our economy the right way. So it's being introduced. It's finally taken hold, and Trump, like Trump said, he wants the United States to be the crypto leader of the world. So it's what's not to be enthusiastic about it? Crypto's growing up. We're using it secure funds. It's just we have there's nothing bad to say about it.
I know short term people have been talking about the prices, but I don't think that matters. I think you have to look at it as a long term part of the financial markets now. And I don't know, Kirk, you tell me, am I being too optimistic? I feel this really big sense of optimism where I felt dread a lot of different times when I saw the legislation that lots of countries were implementing on crypto.
Well, it's like you said, it's a global movement, right? So sometimes you gotta, have an opportunity to have your pulse on what's happening in, say, the EU or what's happening in Asia. Certainly being, Palm Beach based, we really are sensitive to the US. So on the US side, absolutely. In fact, I saw the Treasury Secretary the other day made a statement on I can't remember if it was Meet the Press, but one of the channels, and he said, we're going to make America the crypto blockchain capital of the world, and went on to add that he's going to be sure that the U.S. dollar remains the dominant, reserve currency, and then said, and we're going to use stable coins to do it. So that temperature here in the States is really high. There's been a couple of hiccups with the hacking and that stuff that we'll talk about a little bit later in the EU. So maybe there's some down sentiment there, but we're just going to keep our eye on the global picture because I think overall, yes, it's the emerging market.
I'm curious, Antonia, since you're in the UK, and of course the news cycles are quite a bit different there. You get to see what's going on in Europe and the rest of it. Is there the same optimism there? Are people feeling like we're kind of rounding the corner and now crypto is just going to go to new heights?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I think that there's always been this knowledge of crypto and excitement surrounding it, with Europe going ahead with MiCA regulation, etc., a few years back. But now it does seem even socially embedded in more generalist conversations. So it's definitely now accepted as something that is becoming, something for the masses rather than just the select few. So it's exciting, although Europe kind of follows the US. So as a result of us seeing this push in US regulation, it does spill through. So I think it's just a global, at least in the West, movement towards, just being excited about it.
Yeah. And I think you see it here. I was excited. We covered this last time in the news, but I've seen some more news about it. The National Crypto Association, which of course was financed by Ripple with a $50 million endowment. I think that's big because I think one of the things that's really slowing down crypto, at least on my end, when I go to talk to people, if some people ask me about crypto, they know about the show and they ask me questions, it's the education that's needed. And when I look at the NCA and the potential for educating people, I believe that's maybe one of the biggest things that continues to hold crypto back because it's confusing. For the average person that isn't entrenched in this, when they start talking about exchanges and they start talking about decentralized finance and they start talking about, security protocols and the hacks and the rest of it, people are still very confused. So I'm really optimistic thinking that somebody like Ripple has put money into this nonprofit NCA. To me, that seems like a really, really big move. And I want to see more of that. We've seen the Doge go through the government files and they're finding more and more. Some of it they're calling negligence, some of it they're calling it stupidity, and some of it they're just flat out calling fraud. I'm not sure where the line is between negligence, stupidity, and fraud, because if you're negligent, are you doing it intentionally so you can commit fraud? Who knows? I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of it, but I'd like to see when this is all settled out, the U.S. government putting more money into education. I'd like to see some mandatory education systems in the school system. Kirk, don't you think that education is one of the reasons that the crypto markets are being held back, that there isn't enough of shows like, for example, the Crypto Power Hour?
That's right. Everyone needs a little more Crypto Power Hour. That goes without saying. But yeah, I mean, like you said, in a school would be good. Online classes, people learn a lot, from just watching, whether it's YouTube or Rumble or one of the social media platforms, you can get a lot of information. But it's key, right? That people have to trust it. And if they don't understand it, it's hard to trust it. And then, as we've said before, there's, it seems that the bad headlines get more, or the bad, activities in crypto get more headlines than the good, right? So that's also a headwind that we've got to face. But yeah, would love to see, the Department of Education before it goes out of business, implement crypto curriculum.
Yeah. Well, I'm
I
hoping
think
we're going to
just
get that at state level because I think it's too late for the Board of Education. They've already made their bed. Now they're laying it. It's over with. But I agree with you. It's that. Go ahead, Antonio. I didn't mean to step on you. Go ahead.
No, I very much stepped on you. I was just going to add to that, you know, you see traditional education really lag and there's things which is moving society forwards, like software engineering, all of that from many years ago. Many people taught themselves. And I think we see this in crypto. So it's really now going to be about finding trusted sites, trusted podcasts, different mediums through which to educate, like the Crypto Power Hour. So it's just really adding from what you and Kirk were saying there.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point. Of course, that's the plan for this show is that you know, hopefully we're the trusted voice. We're really well connected in DC. That helps so that we can give you the information and hopefully proactively help you access generational wealth. But I think the other topic we have to talk about, which is the elephant in the room, at least in my opinion, you know, hacking has had a really bad impact on crypto. On this last Bybit hack, $1.5 billion. If you weren't living under a rock, anybody that's in the crypto markets knows all about it. And now they're trying to track it back down. That hurts the crypto market. It hurts the digital asset market when these hacks occur. People feel less secure because it's already kind of a concept where they're like, well, I can't hold it in my hand. It's not like a piece of like this, like a piece of silver or gold. You're holding it in your hand. You've got your debit card for your bank account, even though that's a fiat currency. You feel like somehow you have possession. You've got some dollars in your pocket. Crypto doesn't feel like that. Even if you have a hard wallet, you know, you've got cold storage, you've got the wallet, but people are still having a hard time, I think, making the connection. They're having a hard time wrapping their head around it. But look, this is big news here. OKX suspended their DEX aggregator, which is their decentralized exchange aggregator for anybody out there that doesn't get the terminology yet. Of course, that's because of that Bybit hack. And it looks like the laundering allegations that these guys from this from the Korean hacking group, Lazarus, were using OKX and the DEX aggregator to launder those proceeds. And I think, and I'm going to flip this to you, George, to me, this is one of the worst things in the crypto market. This is what frightens people because they hear this, they don't necessarily completely understand the terminology. They hear that investors lost $1.5 billion, although, of course, they've been guaranteed by Bybit not to lose any of the money. They're trying to claw it back. And now it's the confusing part of, well, why did they have to close down this aggregator? Well, what the hell is an aggregator? So this is where I think the confusion really kind of damages the industry in a big way.
Well, it's just like, all right, let's take it step by step. Money laundering. People have used banks to launder money, illegal outfits. I mean, everything to money laundering. So, I mean, using crypto to, you know, they use the black market. It is what it is. The troublesome thing here is the hacking. That's where it puts fear. But, you know, people have hacked into banks. They've hacked into other institutions. I mean, they hacked into the U.S. government. It's not like something that's new, but the thing is, what protocols can be put in place to prevent this? Now, you know, you think the blockchain is there and there be things to stop this. I mean, this Lazarus group is something else. We were just talking about this. Imagine if we can get interviews on them. Almost like that movie from North Korea.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know,
I don't know if you
with
remember,
approval
what's the name
from
of
the
that movie?
U.S. government, I'd be happy to go into North Korea to interview these guys. Number one, I'm not sure they would ever do it, but what an amazing interview it would be because at the end of the day, I'm sure these guys are brilliant because let's face it, a lot of these platforms are really sophisticated. Kirk, I'm going to read this quote though, and I think it's interesting that OKX came out on social media first. They didn't even announce this in a news cycle or a press release. And that just goes to show the power of social media when it comes to the cryptocurrency market. People go to social media first, and then they start thinking about press releases or regular news. But this is the exact quote, and then I want your comments on this. And of course, this was on one of the platforms. I don't know if it was X first, but here's what they said. Okay. Recently, we detected a coordinated effort by Lazarus Group to misuse our DeFi services. After consulting with regulators, we made the proactive decision to temporarily suspend our DEX aggregator services. This move allows us to implement additional upgrades to prevent further misuse. So it's a temporary suspension. Kirk, what are your thoughts? You think this is enough? Does this send enough of a message to the public?
You know, I think it shows maybe some maturity from OKX in the sense that if there's any badness going on and they can pull a plug to stop it, they're willing to do that. But secondarily, I don't think it shows the plug. It just means, you know, we don't know exactly where and what wallets and who's moving what. We just have a way to stop the whole machine from running. Now, OKX has gotten in some trouble in the past, right? And paid some fines for people that were doing, call it money laundering or washing on some of their platforms. So some of it's got to be OKX doing some CYA, not KYC,
Yeah, CYA is right.
So they, I think there's some of that in there as well. But I mean, when you have a new industry like we are working in, and you have regulators that are trying to figure out what to do, and some of them, maybe they want to make a name for themselves for smacking you upside the head for something that you really didn't do wrong, right? I can't say that it's OKX's fault that people are using their exchange to launder money. I can't remember the movie I saw, but the guys robbed the bank, and they had bills, and they knew that the serial numbers on the bills were marked. So they went to a casino and bought a bunch of chips, and then went back later and cashed the chips out. Is that the casino's fault? You know what I mean? I don't think so. But I think OKX has had to take the steps to keep themselves in the best balance between their customers and their regulators.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's been standard operating procedure. Casinos have been money laundering locations for years and years and years for illicit assets, because you could take currency, put it through the cage. And if you did it at multiple locations and kind of kept it in $10,000 or $20,000 increments, it didn't really raise a lot of red flags. Go to the table, bet a couple of hands, go have lunch, and then go cash in your chips. So it's kind of a standard thing. If you wanted to take cash and get a check, even, you could do that.
I think you missed that, Lance. He said you seem like an expert. Something you want to share with us?
Yeah, I hate to say that. I might be in some ways. At the end of the day, I'll tell you this: when it comes to cover your ass, which is a CYA term that Kirk used, I want to make sure people are clear that wasn't a crypto term. That's kind of one of those things that maybe damages the industry, though, right? A knee-jerk reaction, because we know European regulators were already investigating OKX. A lot of it had to do with wallets that were getting opened in a lot of different locations, the Middle East and otherwise, that appeared to be connected to illicit operations. They weren't sure. I think a lot of that's what triggered this. But when I think about CYA, I wonder how much damage that does, because now you've got the regulatory agencies that not necessarily are really on top of the game, because I think it's so new that people don't even know where to apply the regulations. They're also applying regulations that don't necessarily work in the cryptocurrency markets or digital asset market. So I guess we have to talk about why this matters. I mean, Antonio, what do you think? When you start thinking about this as the potential loss of a European license, that's the potential for OKX. That could be the big downside. The impact on the regular user and even their mental state for the impact on the regular user is what I'm kind of concerned about.
Yeah, I mean, I think the impact it's just not a good thing for people to hear about the industry, right? It brings fear to them. And there's a real question about platform responsibility here as well, which I know, Kirk, you were mentioning, if there's misuse, right, of a platform, who's ultimately at fault. But in this emerging market and emerging associated regulations, I do think that there has to be some sort of responsibility in place. And we're seeing these developments over time, starting with European regulations trying to hold OKX to account. So, yeah, I mean, I think that the European regulations in this instance are trying to set a global benchmark, and we'll have to see, different players like OKX really tighten up in this as crypto evolves into being a trusted institutional asset, So, yeah, it's not good for the industry, but I think it shows as a result, tightening up of regulation, and people have to follow suit if they want to stay playing the game.
I might throw something in just for the audience.
Please.
Most people are familiar with, for example, the New York Stock Exchange, or the Chicago over-the-counter, or London Stock Exchange. So exchanges in this world are really very much like that. Maybe our audience knows, you can't, Apple is a NASDAQ stock, right? So if you want to go there, that's where you buy and sell it. So OKX is like the third or fourth largest exchange in the world, just for a reference point. So they're a pretty big player in our economy. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
No, and I think that's important when you start talking about the size of them. They're not some fly by night.
No.
But I think here's what gets tricky. When you start overlapping issues, right? So these guys took a $500 million fine hit by the U.S. government for money laundering, right? They take that hit. Now they're getting investigated by the European, industry. And that's bringing them into question again. And of course, now they just did a temporary suspension. So you've got a bunch of layers here that I'm concerned. When does it become so much that a group like OKX needs to be stopped dead in their tracks? And of course, we got to look at, Antonio, I want to flip this to you. What impact do you think the EU's MiCA regulations are going to have on an exchange like OKX, knowing that they're that big? And how does that impact the broader crypto industry? That's my concern.
Yeah, so I think that the different European regulations that we've spoken about, they try to bring clear industry-wide rules. So basically is trying to remove these gray areas, because if, a different user is using the platform in a bad way, there is this slippery slope as to, okay, to what extent then is the creator or the platform itself at fault? Like you look at Silk Road, right? That was used predominantly for illegal activities. Therefore, the founder of that is at fault. But it's like, at what stage is it a critical mass that, the platform itself is deemed responsible for the issues at hand?
Yeah,
I did. Yeah, sorry. But yeah, I think, look, MiCA at least is meant to act as a global benchmark. If it is enacting different action onto a platform as large as that, it does set a clear message, because if OKX still wants to act in Europe, it will have to respond accordingly, and it really does set a precedent.
Yeah. And I agree with you on what you just stated.
I was going to just say this as we're fleshing this out. I think OKX is getting, taking some heat for something that I think about the way that the process that's being used to launder, and I can't really put that at their feet, right? As a platform manager, it's just a function of the exchange. So I think they're maybe taking some crap right now that they shouldn't, and they're going to react to cover their butts, and do the best things. So, and I think you're talking about the broader industry impact is I look at it in three different layers. The crypto bros that are very familiar with all this and know all about crypto, for them, it's not going to change a bit. They're just going to keep pushing forward. Right. And then the newbies that are coming in to learn how it works, some of them are going to look at it and go, well, good, at least there's a responsible person out there that'll hit the emergency stop button. And yet other people are going to think, well, God, this is just another scam opportunity. And all of that's moving forward at the same time. So that's interesting to me.
Well, there's no doubt, and this is my opinion. I don't think money laundering ever goes away. And the people that need to money launder, they're extremely sophisticated. They're always looking for a new opportunity. So I don't know that OKX can be held responsible unless, of course, they knew all about it and they promoted that vertical, which I don't think that's the case. That's not what I'm reading in any of the press. Seems like OKX was kind of unaware of it. But look, Hawala banking, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's a system in the Middle East. They have banking institutions all over the world, and basically it allows you to transfer large sums of cash. And it's interesting, these Hawala banking locations, they're inside of convenience stores and grocery stores, Middle Eastern restaurants. You can go in with millions of dollars if you choose to, pay the fee, leave the cash there. And if you're going to, say, France, you can pick up your same currency denomination, or if you want to exchange it. So if you bring in US dollars and you want to transfer it overseas and you want to stay out of the SWIFT banking system, you can pick up that same currency in France. My point is that money laundering is going to happen no matter what. It's always going to be there in one form or another. I don't care if it's high-end art, real estate. There's many vehicles. So I think that crypto is just feeling the pains of it because it's a new industry. And of course, the people that money launder are looking at it as a new opportunity. George, you got any comments on that? And then we'll switch it up.
I mean, I never knew that about those Hawala,
Hawala
machines.
Bank.
I mean, what is that, CCP, right? I don't know if I'd even trust putting money in that thing and going to another country to get it out. But you're still dealing with the fact that you're going to have cash versus cash, and you still have to do something with it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that Hawala system's been in existence for hundreds of years.
the more as time goes by, and then blockchain develops and the Web3 develops, depending on if there's regulation or not, it'll make it easier to track the sales. Maybe we need to, as ourselves, implement some kind of systems where we can track it, not the governments. We don't need them, but maybe that's something we need to do as ourselves. So in order to protect the customers ourselves, because let's face it, crypto's for the people, by the people, and we want it to remain like that. So there's things that we can prevent.
But you have to look at the fact, and I'm going to comment and then we'll move on. Allegedly, that's what the blockchain does. It tracks every single transaction. And when you look at it from that perspective, they say they can track all of it, but Lazarus is proving to be a very sophisticated group, and they've figured out the loopholes where they are. And of course, when you're in an early industry like this, the loopholes are more common than they would in a system like Swift, as an example. It's much harder to beat that system.
So, blockchain can track it, but is it trained or algorithms, whatever, to track where there's nefarious activities, like somebody trying to launder money? That part, I don't know. I can't comment on that, but that's something. But so if you have a group where there's multiple transactions being sent and all of a sudden it ends up in one account, I mean, is there a way they have it to set up to track that? That's the question. I don't know. I don't know if Kirk knows or anybody knows, but
one thing that I would say that's interesting in this dialogue is that what you have is a centralized exchange, so OKX, with a decentralized element platform, and that is what is being shut down by the centralized exchange because of the overarching governmental regulatory group. And there's this huge debate in crypto, and will always be here, between decentralized versus centralized. And we're going to watch it unfold. But it's like the perfect crossbreed of all three of those elements: the government, i.e. the regulators, a centralized exchange like OKX, and then their decentralized platform, which, to your point, George, is where all of that hope that a decentralized system can be fair and transparent and trusted. So there's a lot of pieces moving there right now.
I think we can get there, though. I mean,
we'll get there.
Yep.
I think the future of the integration, maybe not Web 1 or Web 2, but maybe Web 3, the full integration of AI capabilities to track even further, or maybe to enhance the current systems. I think that's really, because let's face it, AI has really just come into the regular user space recently, although I do think that multiple governments have been sitting on it for a couple of years already. They've had quantum computing way advanced of the general public. And so my opinion is it's already been in existence. They've taken advantage of it. And now we're seeing regular users get access through ChatGPT-4 or Grok over on X. And Kirk, you tell me, what do you think the future of AI integration is? Do you think it's Web 3, or are we going to have to get all the way to Web 4 or something else even further up the food chain to get fully integrated?
No, I think it's happening as we speak. To your point, what both of us, I guess, know some people that are either in military or intel circles, and what you know of as general public is generally 15, 20, sometimes 25 years behind what's actually in the lab, so to speak. So next gen AI is already out there and running. Regular, AI like ChatGPT or whatever people are getting familiar with today is here. Now, as we mentioned on the last show, using it in healthcare, it's being used everywhere. In fact, my music producer and I were just chatting before this show about using an AI bot to take music as you're playing it live and translate it into sheet music. So it's here, and it's just going to continue to get here, more and more pervasive. In some ways, that's going to be positive, and some it's going to be negative.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, for the audience, GPS is a prime example of when governments and military had those applications early on. They wouldn't give you proximity closer than, I think it was 100 yards or 200 yards in the beginning. Right. They would put you at a distance so you couldn't pinpoint. Now GPS is much more accurate. They've gone past that system. But the government had it for years and years and years before it was ever released to the general public. So I agree with you. Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot of changes, of course, even in our market. Meme coins, which have always been kind of one of those, bottom of the food chain items. Now there's the version called an AI meme coin, which is a different version, which has got actually applications that are valuable to the blockchain. But when we come back, stay tuned for the Crypto Power. We're going to be covering lots of great topics. When we come back, We're going to be talking about how you protect your cryptocurrency, custodial versus non-custodial wallets. Which one should you choose? I'm sure you're confused. Cold storage is one of those things you hear about, but you don't know what it is. Crypto Power Hour will be right back. In crypto, we trust. Stay tuned.
As an American who keeps up with the real news, you know by now the severity of the economic issues that are plaguing our great nation. My name is Jonathan Rose, and I'm the CEO of Genesis Gold Group, the only major faith-driven company in the industry. 2024 is a year full of uncertainties, with trillions of dollars in national debt, inflation impacting your savings, and a pivotal election year. Your peace of mind is more valuable than ever. Now is the time to use physical gold and silver to preserve your hard-earned retirement savings with a gold IRA. Call Genesis Gold Group today. Our team has decades of experience helping folks just like you take their first step on the path to true financial freedom with a gold and silver IRA.
Call Genesis Gold Group today at 1-800-200-GOLD for a no-commitment, informative consultation with one of our experts to find out if we can be a fit for you. Call now at 1-800-200-4653 or visit genesisgoldgroup.com.
In a world of uncertainty, be prepared with Silver Prepper Bars, your ultimate hedge against political instability and economic turmoil. Introducing the Silver Prepper Bar, crafted from 0.999 pure silver and proudly made in the USA. This tangible, divisible asset can come in handy even in the toughest of times. Portable, perforated, and easily tradable, the Silver Prepper Bar is your lifeline in times of crisis. When facing inflation, currency devaluation, and financial meltdown, Silver Prepper Bars provide peace of mind. Don't wait for disaster to strike. Secure your future today with the exclusive Silver Prepper Bar, the only silver bar on the market divisible into 3 different size pieces for maximum utility, all while fitting in your wallet. The smart choice for savvy investors and preppers alike. With Silver Prepper Bars, you're ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Hi folks, I'm here today to introduce you to the Prepper Bar from PrepperBar.com, the most unique precious metals product we have seen in a long time. These 62-gram bars are perforated and easily broken down into your choice of 3 different sizes to fit a multitude of needs. Whether it be from asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or its unique utility for barter and trade, the Prepper Bar makes a perfect gift for all the precious metal lovers out there. Exclusively made here in the USA and selling out fast. Available in both gold and silver, these slim Prepper Bars fit neatly in your wallet, and their utility enables use in any situation. As gold and silver prices continue to surge and top economists predict upcoming shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals in the form of Prepper Bars. Go to PrepperBar.com now and place your order before supply runs out and prices go up. All payment methods accepted. Order your Silver Prepper Bars now at PrepperBar.com. Silver Prepper Bars, ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Order now.
All right, welcome back to the Crypto Power Hours powered by Solar Media. Here with your host, crypto's most interesting man, Kurt St. John's, and we got Crypto Queen coming from the UK, Antonia Mas, and your Crypto Bros, Lance Migliaccio and George Balloutine. And you know what? We're bringing you crypto all day, every day. We're going to talk now about custodial versus non-custodial wallets. Which one should you choose? We're going to break it down, a little education. I don't know if Kurt wants to go into this start, but I mean,
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I can. So, again, we've got multiple level of experience in our audience. So we'll just start with the most basics, right? So your crypto wallet is how you're going to, access your crypto. That's how most people get in and buy it, hold it, send it. You've got a couple of tidbits there that are important. That's your public key. So that's sort of your outward-facing phone number for those of us that don't know much about it. And then you have your private key. So that's your inside encryption that is sort of the interior line of defense. So you've got a couple of options with what you can do, and I just happen to bring one of them here with me today. There's typically the type of wallet that would be called custodial, which comes from custody or custodian. And you might think of Britney Spears with her custodians watching over her, right? So they're watching what she does. They can track what she's up to and stuff. So a custodial wallet's a wallet that maybe someone gives you, like Coinbase or Binance or something of that nature. And they can help you with that wallet. They can help you recover, your key information, or if you lose access to it, they can help you get it back, because ultimately they're sharing that information with you. That's custodial. Non-custodial is a little more sophisticated. It's a little more secure. It's something where responsibility is on the user of the wallet. So we can look at wallets like the Solana wallet or MetaMask wallet, and that's where the kind of the secret code or your key phrase that allows you to access the wallet and therefore have the power to move what's in the wallet, which is typically it's going to be your Bitcoin or your Solana or whatever you're holding. So you've got a couple of different ways to look at that. I believe myself that most people inadvertently use custodial wallets because they don't know the difference, and they don't even know there is a MetaMask or there is a Solana wallet. So they stick with what Coinbase gave them or what Kraken gave them or what Binance gave them. So that's my quick 50,000 foot overview.
And I think for some people it's confusing. At the end of the day, just imagine it's kind of in a manner, if you take cash out of the bank, when it's in the bank, it might be vulnerable. You never know. There could be a robbery. Of course, you've got the FDIC allegedly insuring you. And of course, the exchanges will normally try to make good if it's hacked. But when you move it into the wallet, I just want to make it clear that seed phrase is digital gold at that point. Yeah. If you have the wallet and you lose the seed phrase, it is lost forever. You've heard the stories about people that threw their hard drive with $800 million worth of Bitcoin into a landfill. That story is painful to watch. Yeah. But I think when you realize what kind of tools these are and what kind of, I guess, flexibility it offers you, the great thing about this so far is that people have been able to exchange cryptocurrencies all across the globe at very, very, very fast speeds. And anybody that's ever done a bank wire knows how slow the process it is on international wires. Right. It can drag on, depending on what country you're in, for days and days. I've dealt with it over the years, so I know the difference. This does not operate like that. Many of these exchanges are lightning fast in the processing. So it's an opportunity to really control your money, invest in a product as you get to learn more and more about it. And it's about convenience with these with the third-party control apps. And Tony, what kind of comments do you have on this?
Yeah, I think there's this big, there's a big question really between utility and security. So generally speaking, most people will use a custodial wallet, right? So it's where someone manages it, a third party on your behalf. And I do think that is a great thing for beginners who might not be as confident knowing what they're doing, etc. But to be honest, the safety element of it being non-custodial is just that much greater because there's no risk of a third party who can kind of freeze or hack or mismanage your funds. So yeah, I think those are the main things concerning risk, security, etc. So the risk decreases when it's non-custodial, but really then it's on you, the person. If you lose your personal keys, there's no plan B. You cannot access what's in your wallet. So it's just basically resulting that the buck stops with you and it's on you. Yeah,
no doubt. And of course, what we're talking about is when you store off chain. The only place it gets complicated, of course, there's no recovery options. You lose the seed phrase, you're in deep doo-doo at that point. You got a problem for sure. And it's a little more technical. And that's what I think some people are having difficulty when it comes to cryptocurrency. It seems like you have to have a reasonably good technical skill set. George and I encountered that in the very beginning when we found out that you had to own, you had to be involved in half a dozen different exchanges. Because if you wanted to buy certain assets that were just coming out, brand new coins of any sort, they might only be available on one exchange and not another. So there really isn't an all-inclusive one exchange fits all. And of course, on the hard wallets, LPAL, MetaMask, Ledger, Kirk, is there a product you like better than others? Is there any wallet in particular that you lean towards as a recommendation to the
You said
audience?
this isn't an infomercial, so I'm not going to say the Solon wallet.
Exactly.
But, if I wasn't allowed to choose Solon, I personally like.
Wait a minute, that's an exchange, right? We're talking about Solon. We're not talking about a Solon cold storage wallet. What I'm talking about is cold storage right now.
Oh, I thought you asked me what wallet I like the most. But if you're talking about just strictly cold storage or offline storage or something,
Correct.
so this I'm holding in my hand, it happens to be a Ledger wallet, right? And then
Gotcha.
so what I do is I log in when my device is connected to the internet. So it is possible that this phone could get hacked, right? Those are possibilities. But so I'm dealing with my Ledger wallet on here. I move my Bitcoin over here, and when I close the app and close the wallet, now the value is stored completely offline. So you can't access it through my phone unless you physically came here and got me to open this up and put in my phrases, which, I guess there was.
Do you want to throw your sheet phrases into the chat?
No, hold on. I got a great idea. I have a perfect idea. Kirk, why don't you open that up and show everybody, send me some Bitcoin and show them how it works.
Well, there's not much on this one because I don't want people to think they can stop by the studio. Well, who was the guy? This is why I like the Joe Rogan thing where we have someone with Google in the background and we're going to have to implement. Because there was a guy in France that got kidnapped. Do you guys remember who that was? He was like the founder of a coin or the founder of an exchange.
I do remember it, but I don't remember his name,
can't
but I
say
remember
his
him getting
name.
kidnapped.
Yeah, but they kidnapped him. They're like beating him up saying, you better give us your 12 keys because he had a hard wallet. He had it offline. But and so even at the end of that day, if someone busts in the room and they're just pounding you on the face, you may or may not give up your key phrase. Depends on how macho you are or stubborn. So there's elements to it in all different ways. But I wanted to go back to one quick point, particularly for the crypto bros. One of the most intriguing and inviting and exciting things about the crypto movement, particularly in DeFi, decentralized, all this and that, for the early adopters is the ability to have systems that break away from governance. Right. So the idea that Bitcoin, for example, or the Solana stablecoin are currencies that are generated by people, not by the government, not by a sovereign, not by a country or anything like that. So in the custodial, non-custodial wallet universe, non-custodial wallets have a little bit more freedom to them. A custodial wallet, like at Coinbase or at Binance or any custodial wallet, there's someone at corporate headquarters that if they wanted to, they could just go in and turn your wallet off. So you're not only giving them a little bit of, they're not only giving you a little bit of tech support, but they have power to a degree over what you have stored in your wallet. So that might be something people would want to think about. Custodial means Big Brother can shut it off. Non-custodial means he can't. So I'll stop there.
Yeah. Is there any reason you picked the wallet you picked, Kirk? Was it Ledger? Did you feel like they were better than a Nano or Elipal, or was there any reason you picked that particular wallet?
No, I mean, not really. Basically, I just chatted up with some other people that I know, and we all just agreed on Ledger. So it's kind of like looking at mid-class cars. You know what I mean? If you're looking at the BMW 325 versus the Mercedes Coupe, they're all in that same class. So I just went with Ledger.
Yeah, it's interesting because the marketing campaigns have just started. A lot of the wallets, people are just becoming familiar. But of course, because they're more complex, ease of use is a big complaint by many people. Of course, the regular exchanges, they're user friendly and they are much more what I would consider beginner friendly. And I think recoverable is another thing. Many people lose their passwords. In this case, there's no recovery if you lose those private keys. You might as well just take that wallet and pull a Hillary Clinton, smash it with a hammer. Because at the end of the day, it's only good for that.
My advice is write down your seed phrase, put it in a safe, keep it in a safe deposit box, 2 different places where it's safe and secure. No one has access to it, and you should be good to go. Pretty simple.
Yeah. And I think the pros, of course, full control and ownership are a big deal and more secure. And as this becomes more mainstream, I think you're going to have to worry about security more and more and more. Let me ask you, Antonio, you have any recommendations on hard wallets? George and I prefer the Elipal. I'm going to say that on air. We prefer the LPAL wallet for a number of reasons. It had a lot more options as far as what coins were already available on it. They seem to have the widest offering of what you could put on the wallet, meaning the number of different exchanges and coins that were accessible through LPAL. George?
Although I will say, for custodial wallets, I do prefer Solon Globals.
There you go.
Just saying.
Well, I think you're right. It's basically what makes it an easy process as possible. So something like LPAL, which offers all of those different things in one, is easier for the user because you don't have to use numerous different wallets to access the different things you want. So I think that's key. And I think moving forwards, there will be this balancing act for people trying to maintain the security of their wallet, but they still want easy solutions. So it will be things like that, I think, which will, drive forwards and get the most users adopted.
Yeah. Something I think is worth talking about too is it's age, right? I mean, if you're 62 and you're thinking about what are you going to do, and you don't have a 20-something-year-old there to do it for you, then you're probably going to lean towards the custodial, right? Because like at Coinbase or one of the exchanges, maybe there's even customer service. But the younger you get, the lower down the age bracket, it's just these are people, Antonia's age group, some of the crypto bros running around Dubai. This is what they grew up on. So for them, it's just second nature, and the added, call it technical hurdle to get involved with it doesn't even exist for them, right? I have actual devices here in my house that my 24-year-old works for me because I have no interest in learning, like the TV. I don't even really have any interest in working with a remote
TV.
control.
You know what?
TV is a real staple.
Listen, hold on. No, man.
Complicated tech.
Listen,
Antonia, hold on. You remind me of Lance in that sense.
Yeah, well, there are some things that I don't have any concern of, although I can operate a TV fairly well. I think I might be a couple of steps ahead of Kurt. My point would be that I agree with you. There are many things that I don't want to bother with.
I had it on, and apparently you can listen to television in Farsi, and I didn't even know that.
I got you. Yeah.
So
did you change your TV to Farsi?
On accident. I was trying to go to Spanish.
Oh yeah.
I jumped right over to for our audience. Farsi is a Mid-Eastern language.
Yeah. Well, it's a great one of the great pranks of all times is when you take somebody's phone and you change it into simplified Chinese and hand it back to them. That is also it is often a struggle to get it back into English.
No, I wouldn't like that.
If you're looking for a great prank for the audience, changing people's TVs and cell phones,
it's not as easy as you think to do it on a cell phone, because when you first log into your phone and set it up, it asks you what language. So it's not that simple. We're just showing you where Lance's tech experience is limited right now. I don't mean to throw you under the bus, but
I had pulled that prank years ago. Maybe it's changed enough. I haven't done it recently. My pranking has been somewhat modified.
Although you've given me some good ideas, though, to mess with you guys. But go ahead.
Yeah, we got to think of this is. I think I want to go into this because this is important. So, I think the future of cryptocurrency, of course, ETFs. We already know that many of them have been submitted to the SEC by many different firms. But I think options and futures are really where this is all going to head. Kirk had an interesting question. What do you think how does this impact volatility? And I think it increases volatility. But of course, the announcement is Falcon X completes their CME's first major Solana's futures trade, which is obviously a significant milestone, executing that CME group's first major Solana futures block trade. They did it a day before the contracts for official launch on March 17th. It's a landmark transaction. In my opinion, it, of course, is growing institutional interest is what's really pushing the options and futures markets. We know that all the JP Morgans and Chases and all the rest of the big companies out there, Wells Fargo, and many others that have always traded options and futures want to see the same for the blockchain industry. Mm-hmm. Kirk, let's go on because you started this dialogue with me. What do you think the impact of this is on volatility for the future of cryptocurrency and digital assets?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's if you take Solana's the coin we're talking about now and what they've done with CME, I think it's going to add to it a little bit. And the reason I think it will is I use a little analogy. If I'm holding a rope and the rope is going 20 feet across the room and I go like that, from a foot out in front of me, it's going to move like that. But by the time it gets all the way to the other end of the room, we've got a 3 or 4 foot whipsaw. So, I think it's going to add to it because in essence, futures are basically someone saying, hey, I'll pay you X for Solana on the Y date, right? So that's going to have a set of inherent trades that are going to come mature as time goes by. But I think another tidbit, I know it's a little bit off Lance is specific, but think about that. That's where, regular traditional finance is getting its nose into crypto, right? Because derivatives and futures and options and all that stuff. I mean, that's straight out of the City of London. That's straight out of Wall Street. And they see an opportunity to create an environment where a trade is possible so that they can either get their trading fees or, BlackRock style, maybe manipulate prices. And I think that's, to me, as much as any one coin or one group that is setting that up. And you can look at, I think, Templeton and there's a ton of them. XRP has, I think, 16 or 17 ETF applications that have been filed. And you're just going to see this gigantic movement from regular TradFi into our world. And it's going to have impacts I'm not even sure we can recognize right now.
Derivatives has always been the way that Wall Street is, it's a structured way to hedge their risk and, of course, manage price volatility. It's pretty common. It makes sense to apply it to the cryptocurrency market. And I think what this is going to do, in my opinion, is expand the market, because the current market, if you look at the stock exchanges in general, if you look at options and futures and the derivatives portion of that market, it's such a large portion of it, especially for some of the high-speed trading platforms. They use it to hedge their risk. So I think it's going to really expand the market. The question is, how much does it expand it? And is it, because you looked at, just like you said, Franklin Templeton is involved, Grayscale, 21 shares, Bitwise, Van Eck, Canary Capital, just to name a few. This is a major expansion, and I can't imagine what this is going to do for contracts and trading volume once this really goes mainstream. So, Antonio, what are your thoughts? Where do you think this kind of takes the market volatility, maybe trading activity? Where do you think this is heading?
Sure. Well, I mean, that's my whole background, really. JP Morgan, I did macro hedging. So I'm quite excited by this topic. But I think, look, adding transaction volume, it adds volatility, but institutions will come in because they can use derivatives as a hedge and, leverage to manage this volatility. So I think it will only increase capital in this market. So institutions, again, they see these as tools to manage their risk and are actually just looking at transaction volumes rather than the volatility itself, because the volatility isn't a turn off, it's a turn on. They can hedge risk and play the market for profit both ways. So, yeah, I think it's just showing that the market is mature, it's liquid, there's a lot of cash floating about, regardless of where it stands. And where it stands in terms of value, they just like the fact that there's a lot of players in this industry. So, yeah, I think it's just a clear sign it's bigger.
And I want to ask you, for a beginner, what's the opportunity for a beginner? Let's say somebody doesn't have a lot of money, but they had a little bit of exposure to futures. Give me an example how a beginner could benefit from this moving forward, if you can.
A beginner in terms of, a
beginner investor. Let's say somebody getting in the crypto market and they've had some success in futures in the stock market. Let's say that, give me an example of a product you think might be available in the near term future. Is there something you can kind of put it in real world application for just somebody that just tuned into our show and they're like, crypto, derivatives, I don't understand anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's a question really between if it's a consumer engaging in crypto derivatives or institutions. So if there's so a consumer, I don't know how they would directly get involved into derivatives here, but say they choose a forward, like they think Solana is going to go up in price, but it might. How do I word this? They think that Solana will go up in price, so they buy a forward for Solana. But then if the price drops, but they've already bought the forward for Solana, they can still cash in that benefit for which Solana has increased in price. So they can or they can hedge it. They could buy some derivatives to try and balance out their position. So there's different plays they can do. But I
What
think
I
that
would-
most, sorry.
Sorry, Angela, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Kurt.
No,
You
I
go
think-
ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, I mean, I know people that are my friends of my father's, and he's in his early 80s, the Joslins. They were able to buy the Bitcoin ETF, and we were at dinner, and they said, I don't even know how to buy Bitcoin. Because the institutions make access to the ETF available, then they get exposure to Bitcoin, right? And so, you know, if you're a newbie and you're thinking about how can I get involved and start trading crypto, if you do it through one of these vehicles, you're basically talking to your old-fashioned stockbroker. So I think that's a gateway that will help people get in. Didn't mean to.
And I agree with you. I think when the institutions get involved, there's also some security with the institutions. We were talking about the exposure risks of having an on-the-chain exchange wallet versus having a cold storage wallet. Having these institutions involved gives you an extra layer of protection, meaning that they've got it sitting in your account. It's available. So I think it takes things mainstream, right? Because an ETF,
Certainly.
is a regulated investment fund that tracks the price of an asset. And in this case, we're talking about the asset being Solana or Bitcoin.
Right.
So I think when it starts trading on
gives
stock
credibility.
exchanges,
It gives
because many people
credibility.
are very familiar with stock exchanges, right? They're very comfortable with dealing with
their
stock exchange.
broker or the company that I can say this. Been in crypto since, right after Satoshi dropped the paper. And I can't remember the day. I should look this up. I wish I had Joe Rogan in my gold Google searches here. But I can still remember at least the phone call that I got from my dad. The first time my dad saw Morning Joe on CNBC, which he watches every single day of the week, talk about Bitcoin, my dad called me right away and said, oh my God, this Bitcoin thing might go somewhere. They're talking about it on CNBC. And I was like, hopefully it will, Dad. Right. But for him, that was verification that I wasn't crazy. Right. I'm out here talking about people are just printing money.
What was the price of Bitcoin, Kirk? Do you remember right then?
This is why I'm saying we've got to get our little Google guy in the back room so I can search these things up. I don't want to do it on my phone.
How many years ago was it?
Okay.
Oh,
your little Google guy is called John Kirk St. John's.
John Kirk, my son, should be.
What year was this, Kirk?
Right
You think?
now.
What year was it? Just speculate.
I would start with Bitcoin's inaugural appearance on CNBC.
You think it was 16, 17?
Gosh, why are you pinning me down? Let's see.
That's what we do on this show.
Probably 18, 17, 18.
So
but
I would have
get
to
back
assume
you.
that Bitcoin was probably trading somewhere in the 11, 12, maybe $8,000-$9,000 range, right?
What was it on CNBC?
But it's not that. So just on a personal note, there's me and my dad. My dad is the quintessential old-fashioned investor. And I'm over here talking about some mysterious Japanese guy came down from the mountain with a white paper and Bitcoin's going to change the world. So from his perspective, that's pure insanity, right? But once he sees Joe Kernan talking about it on CNBC, oh, this must mean something. There must be something here. This has to have credibility and legitimacy to it. And now, he can go to Fidelity, he can go to JP Morgan, he can go to all these places and get involved with crypto through a traditional TradFi broker. And that, I think, is opening up the door to many investors that otherwise never in a million years are they going to go out and try to find a wallet and all that other stuff. It's not. Even today, it's tough.
Which expands the crypto market potentially into trillions.
That's what I'm talking
I just have a question,
hold
Kirk.
on,
Is
hold
your
on.
dad watching the show today? Because he should be.
Of course he is. Hi, Dad.
Hi, Dad. So listen, Bitcoin, when it came out January 2009 to 2010, they said the price was basically nothing. So May of 2010, it was less than a penny. From February 2011 to April 2011 was $1, and then November 3rd, 2013 went from $350 to $1,242.
Right.
So there.
Right. So this crypto thing may catch on.
Can I go back?
It might be an opportunity. We need a little bit more of a crystal ball so we can get on the next Bitcoin.
Can I go back to May 2010? I want to buy some.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need a time machine. Maybe Solon Global can buy a time machine for us here at the Big Mig show. We can go back and buy a bunch of Bitcoin when it was at pennies. But of course, we'd have to keep track of that seed phrase as we come forward in time. All right, let's switch it up here. This is interesting. I thought this was a really interesting story. It goes back to the hack. But the way they have figured out to launder these hacked proceeds and we're talking about the Lazarus Group out of North Korea, they're acting like they're bad traders.
That's pretty interesting.
They're actually mimicking all the actions of really bad crypto traders. And so, of course, they're intentionally making losing trades to make the illicit funds appear clean. Now, this is really interesting. I think that this is a strategy. This is how they're actually camouflaging themselves. So, Kirk, I'm gonna give you an attaboy on this, because you're right. Maybe very well OKX had no idea, because how would you identify that laundering is being done by accounts that look like they're really doing a bad job trading?
Well, I mean, first of all, I would say, are they responsible to do that? The whole presupposition that OKX is responsible for what all of their account holders are doing, I don't personally subscribe to that. But that aside, if I was working at OKX and I was asked to kind of look at stuff like that, this takes you back to, George, with what you were saying. The chains, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's, the XRP ledger, it doesn't matter which chain, they're all basically ledgers. So anytime any crypto moves from wallet A to wallet B, that is tracked. Now, who wallet A is and who wallet B are and why they're doing that, that takes you back to that public-private key stuff. That takes you back to AML and KYC, right? So if you have a wallet, which you can go to any Bitcoin conference in the world today and buy what's called a black wallet. So this is a wallet that someone created before KYC ever came in to existence. And I think the price is like $5, $6, $7 grand. So you can get a crypto wallet that's been around for, maybe as much as 10 or 12 years, that's not tied to anyone's particular identification. Whereas if you go on Coinbase or you go on Binance now, certainly in EU and here, you have to register and go through KYC and AML. So they know, they could say, okay, well, this wallet address belongs to Kirk and this one belongs to George, and Kirk sent George crypto. Right? On chain, you can't see that. You just see my public key going to George's public key, but you have to kind of dig in behind that to get to the what's going on part of it. So when I see what's going on with these trades, right? And so someone's doing a trade and they're basically, let's just say they're selling a Bitcoin for 80K for 40K and ETH, right? This allows for a transaction. And you could try to spot those because those are abnormal. You talked about AI, maybe in time, with some of these virtual machines, AI can monitor more closely what's happening. But other than that, you yourself would have to monitor it. You'd have to be sitting there looking at the two wallet addresses and trying to say, what the hell are these people doing? So that's, I think what makes the whole idea of holding OKX responsible a little far-fetched.
Oh, and this is interesting. I want to explain really quick, and George, then I want you to comment on this, how this works. Listen to the way this works. So the launderers swap tokens in a way that look like they're trading bots would typically exploit, right? So instead of being taken advantage of, they control the bots. The transaction appears to be an inexperienced trader making a mistake, taking heavy losses, so that the lost funds are funneled into another bot under the launderer's control, effectively washing the illicit funds. I mean, this is going to be extremely difficult to track, especially if these wallets only stay online for a certain amount of time. They appear like they're bots and then they disappear. This is serious. This is an evolving strategy. I've never heard of anything like this before. And of course, now we're looking at centralized exchanges versus launderers. What do you think, George? I think these guys, the Lazarus Group, my hat's off to you. This is sophisticated in my opinion.
As far as tracking, only AI is going to be able to track it without question, without a doubt. It's AI or nothing. So that's where we're at.
Yeah.
AI.
What do you think, Antonia? A sophisticated way to do this, don't you think?
I think it's crazy. I mean, to pose such a sophisticated attack, again, agree with George. It's going to have to be AI machines, models developing over time to track unusual behavior to this degree and then try and capture it and act accordingly. This is definitely beyond human control and responsibility, I think. So yeah, AI is the way to solve this if it can be done.
Exactly. Okay, well, listen, that's the end of the Crypto Power Hour for today, powered by Solum Global. If you like the show, don't forget to thumbs up, comment, share, and like. Take the short form, the long form, share it with your friends and family members. Let them know about the show. We've got a lot of great interviews in the next couple of weeks lined up. We'll start telling you about those. Head over to Solum Global and follow the Crypto Power Hour and follow, of course, Antonio Moss and 47. Is that right? Do I have that right?
Yes.
42.
42. I don't know
Let's
why.
get a
47 is Donald Trump. It's probably stuck in my head. G. Ballantine, Kirk St. John, C. Kirk 2023. And of course, Lance Migliaccio. You want to follow us. We'll give you the updates on what's going on here. And then don't forget the Crypto Power Hour. Wednesdays, 3 p.m. And of course, Fridays at 3 p.m. every single week until infinity. And of course, we'll probably be adding additional shows as we grow. Thanks for tuning in today. We appreciate you. George, any last comments on our way out the door, brother?
No, have a good day. God bless. We'll catch you all on Friday. Make sure you're there at 3 p.m. Eastern. In crypto, we trust.